Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Now, let me try to get this straight if I can. If lawyers are disbarred and clergymen are defrocked, doesn't it follow that electricians can be delighted, musicians denoted, and cowboys deranged? I love that. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a real-life patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Good morning. And a good morning to you. Welcome to Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, August the 6th already. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with all the safe driving tires you need at all 7 locations. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you, and also Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy. Attaboy. All right, thank you very much. And right now, the weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Morning, Roger and the crew. They're over there early at 7 o'clock to serve you with the best tools and equipment, anything you need for any kind of a project to finish up and do it right. Not sure what you need? Well, then I urge you to give them a call at 678-3122. Absolutely. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. You call them right now. And here's Gina with the weather.
Oh boy, today is definitely going to be a hot one. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. And the estimated high is going to be right around 96, possible triple digits, just depending upon where you're at in the valley. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, cooling off 62. Partly sunny for tomorrow with a high of 90. Mostly cloudy skies for Wednesday night with a low of 60. Those clouds are going to stick around for Thursday. And we will have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. We're going to be cooling off to about mid-80s for Thursday. Thursday night, slight chance of thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies in the overnight hours with a low of 54. Then for Friday, sunny skies and highs going to be close to 90. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you very much. And don't forget, for all the tools and equipment you need, it's all over there at K&R Rental. And you can get them on a long and short-term basis, so please check it out today. Call Roger. He'll help any way he can at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. K&R Rental, 678-3122. Don't forget, on Thursday, it's sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Oh, yeah, the sale that works for you. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. And don't forget the telephone number for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. 678-9411. Merv May and the crew helping you every Thursday, sale time at 10:30 at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Don't you miss the big sale this Thursday. By the way, too, I want to take some time and acknowledge our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. You don't have the time to do your clothes washing, Bunky? Well, I know what you can do. Yep, you can take all your washing in a big old bag and take it into Daryl's, and they'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to. All you got to do is just stop into Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley for the best, and I mean this, the best in dry cleaning and taking care of your clothes. It's Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those good people today. We have got a very interesting program this morning, one of which I don't think you want to miss any of the guests. At 9:06, we're going to be talking to Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance and simply ask the question, why not coal? We're going to talk about that. And then we're also at 9:30 going to have one of my favorite guests to come on this program, Raynard Jackson. And we're going to be talking about black liberalism and reparations, and that should be interesting. 10:06, Dr. History is going to phone in a report, and then at 10:32, we've got Kelvin Beisner with the Cornwall Alliance talking about global warming and why these people are becoming so wild and frantic to try to change things their way. We're going to talk about that later on. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And the telephone number to call in case it's not a real large item that you need on the counter, well, they'll have it ready for you. 678-0459. That number again, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Over 6 decades of serving you and really serving you well. That's Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Be sure and stop in, say howdy today. Great people. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning and thank you.
Good morning. It's the Yummy Man.
Hello, Joe.
The menu for the Burley Senior Center on South Overland is breakfast this morning. We're having pancakes, scrambled eggs, hash browns, and sausage.
Ooh. Okay, that sounds really like my kind of day right there.
It's a good way to get the day started. For only $5, you can come and join us, or you can get a takeout if you call before 12 o'clock. We serve from 12 to 1 o'clock. So come one, come all.
All right, Joe, you've been an excellent spokesman. The Yummy Man, Joe Taylor for the Senior Center on Overland. Thank you so much. See you, Joe. Thank you. He's gone. He ran off. All right, Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I want to start the program off this morning by, about a week ago or so, a lady called and chewed me out a little bit about me not liking Beto O'Rourke. Beto, doesn't make any difference. It's a nickname for him anyway. He calls himself, his real name, Robert. Anyway, I started calling him Gumby because he keeps throwing his arms around and he looks like one of those miniature rubberized characters that bends this way and that way, and quite frankly, that's his politics too. But I'm just going to come right out this morning and say it, and if somebody's offended by it, I don't care. Beto O'Rourke absolutely yesterday got as low and vile, and I will never, ever have a good thing to say about him. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting, using the name of Jesus in a profane manner against Donald Trump, and Trump going to El Paso to see and basically console some of the victims of that horrendous shooting. And Beto O'Rourke is a low-class nothing. He was supposedly going to be the golden boy of the Liberal Democratic Party. And I don't know what happened to the golden boy, but the tarnish evidently took over, and he is nothing. And for him to resort to denigrating the name of Jesus like he did yesterday in a news clip, waving his arms and denouncing and blaming President Trump for the shootings, Beto O'Rourke is not in any fashion mentally equipped to be the leader of the local Mickey Mouse Club. This guy is absolutely a zero, and that's about what he's got right now in the polls, almost absolutely zero. But it wasn't just him. It's other very dim-witted Democrats like Cory Booker calling Trump a racist over and over and over, and perverted Buttigieg. Anybody who supports Trump is a white supremacist. That really offends me, and it should absolutely offend you. Anyone that supports Trump is a white supremacist. And then, of course, it goes on to MSNBC's Joe Scarborough calling us that support Donald Trump all haters. Well, the division is there. The division is there in this country. Now, if you want to, and you want to be mishmashy, go stand in the middle. Go stand in the middle of this pit and just kind of say, well, I'm a friend of everybody. You can't be. The division in this country is alive and well. I will not be pushed into a corner, and I don't expect many of my listeners will be. If you support a lot of the Trump policies that are occurring in this country, whether it's economic or whether it's security or whether it's in world confrontations with leaderships and other governments, then stand up and be proud of it. Don't be wishy-washy or mishmashy. But to condemn and blame Donald Trump for the shootings that happened is absolutely insane. Did anyone point the finger at Obama in his administration and say, oh, those mass shootings are all your fault, President Obama? No. President Obama was somewhat of a sacred cow. And I don't understand why. But now, conversely, President Trump is supposed to be the sponge that absorbs all of this filth, all of this ire, and everything, according to the left, is his fault. What a bunch of loons and losers. You know, to come out, honestly, think about this. To come out and say, well, Trump caused that. Trump is encouraging these shootings. Trump is a racist. Trump this, Trump. Did anybody ever say that about Obama? No. I, for one, I don't care if it's President Trump. I don't care if it's President Clinton. I don't care if it's even Obama. The president didn't do or cause anything. Anything. These perverted, sick minds that picked up these guns and did these horrendous crimes absolutely are the ones to blame. And the Democrats, they're not satisfied with that blame. They've got to pass it on to another party and other individuals. Caller, I'm teed off. Good morning.
Good morning, Deb. It infuriates me and frustrates me to no point that they're throwing the blame at a president who has done nothing but trying to heal the division that the previous president caused. And he's getting the blame for somebody else's actions, which is unfair and not cool at all. But how about the race baiters and the hate inciting people on the left?
Yeah.
Al Sharptons and the Maxine Waters and people like that. What's going on there? Shouldn't they be responsible for what's going on in Detroit?
Well, and you're 100% right on this, Riley. And later on this morning at 9:30, I'm going to be talking to Raynard Jackson, and he has an organization, Black Americans for a Better Future, and you'll hear and understand the common sense that this man has in denouncing liberalism and the stupidity that the Democrats possess. And it's total stupidity that the Democratic Party has. And they're trying to... everybody's a white supremacist. Everybody's a racist. Everybody is at fault except the person that committed the damn crime.
I don't understand. My fear, my biggest fear is there's going to be enough people who buy into this that we're going to be thrown to the wolves in 2020. I really have a fear of that. I hope that's not the case, but that is one of my biggest fears is the upcoming election.
I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you. Wait a minute, Riley. I can't argue with you because I think you're making a valid point. We are seeing so much of a transition in the media to absorb and then, like a sponge, and then spew out this vial that anybody that supports Trump is a racist. Anybody that supports Trump is a bigot. Anybody that supports Trump is a hate monger. And this is growing like a very dangerous cancer. I think you've really touched on something that's going to grow and absolutely has got to be nipped in the bud. I think it's going to hurt 2020 and anything in the future for conservatives that believe in any kind of moral values whatsoever.
They did say they were going to take it over and come hell or high water, and it didn't matter what it would take, and they're doing their best at it. And I'll let you go, my
All
friend.
right.
You have a good day.
Riley, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I am just incensed as to the stupidity of the Democratic Party. And don't give me, oh, well, they're not all like this. Well, then why aren't the other ones denouncing it? Where's the guts? Where's the backbone? They haven't got any. Caller, stand by. I've got to get this commercial in. I'll be right with you, I promise. Thank you for your patience. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, such great food. Such great menu choices. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner all the time. Great desserts anytime. Oh, my. They've got it all for you at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Great food, great people serving you, too. And it's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We always look forward to going over there. 611 North Overland in Burley. See you there at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. One other quick word. I also want to acknowledge our dear friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I'll be over there tomorrow. Long-needed appointment. I got to get back in the swing of things. They're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley with Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists. I urge you to stop the aching and the paining. Get in there for an appointment today, 678-1191, 678-1191. And, of course, all the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool. Oh, that's good. You're going to love the people and what they can do for you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Good morning, Zeb. I sure hope this guy in Texas gets the death penalty. But you know what? The death penalty doesn't mean much in America anymore because he will have appeal after appeal after appeal, and he'll probably just spend the rest of his life in prison at our expense.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. Our system has become a mockery. Our system of justice is not meted out in a justifiable manner. I mean, when you have the victims and these families suffering, and there is absolutely beyond a shred of any evidence that this man did this or these two people did this, one is dead, the other one is still alive, there is nothing that should stop the courts from saying next Monday at 9:05, that's it. The end of your life as you know it.
That's the way it should be. But there'll be some lawyer that wants to make a name for himself.
Absolutely.
And he will lie, cheat, steal, or whatever it takes to make himself famous.
Well, even on Keith, even on a smaller scale, and not depending, and caller number 2, stand by, I'll be right with you. On a smaller scale, looking at things as far as a lack of respect for people in authority. Look at New York City with the people going up and assaulting the police. I mean, we're living in a chaotic society right now that is being brought on by people that want to see the absolute fragmentation of values in America.
Well, you look at the majority of the people who are in the Congress that are Democrats, and you'll find that most of them are attorneys or have been attorneys.
Well, the same can be said for a lot of Republicans too, and I'm not gonna condemn the legal arm of working to help and serve people, attorneys at law, by any just partisan politics. But I will say this: that this liberalism and this absolute destitute of any common sense of finger pointing and blaming people like the president for these shootings. I mean, that is so insane. These people should be just poo-pooed and told to go sit in the corner.
It's just like this Kamala Harris and her job as Attorney General, the injustice she did there, just because she was an attorney and wanted to make a big name for herself. She's hurt a lot of people that shouldn't have been hurt.
Well, I tell you what, I'm just totally disgusted with the attitude in America. We are at a division, and I don't know what it's going to take to heal it. I don't know if it can be healed or if we need, and I'm going to say it, other people say it under their breath, I'm going to say it out loud, whether we need to have a class warfare to get this thing settled and get some morality and right and wrong in this country. I don't know, Keith, but something's got to happen.
I'm behind you all the way.
All right, my friend, thank you very much for your call. Caller number 2, just give me one quick second. I'll be right there, I promise. I want to tell everybody about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in their Connection Credit Union. Dr. Bill and his staff, and they've been voted Minnecacha's best veterinary hospital many, many times. And if you have any problems, health problems with your animals, please remember the number 678-1177, 678-1177. I don't care if it's an itty-bitty kitty cat, a little puppy dog, or a great big bunch of dairy cattle. They are a mixed animal practice, large and small. They take care and try to keep them all healthy. Ark Animal Hospital in Hebron, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your patience.
Yes, I'm calling in to apologize to the world. I'm one of these darn Republicans that is racist, kind of hard-nosed in what I believe. I think people that are convicted of a crime for over 5 years ought to automatically be put in the death house and shot within a week of their sentence. I really think this would be the best way with the way our government is doing things today in our legal system, letting the criminals walk and walking all over the guys that are trying their best to make things work out right in this country.
All right, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What they do to Trump.
Wait a minute. Stop. Would you define for me, quickly, because I've got another call, quickly define legal system to me? What legal system do we have anymore?
We don't have one. We need one. And, you know, I think the death penalty ought to be part of it. There's so much corruption and so much dishonesty. Just in the media alone, it's unbelievable to me that it could ever happen that way. It's terrible when you pick up a paper and read it, and you cannot even digest any of it because it's all baloney.
Yeah. Jerry,
I almost said a bad word. I apologize for that, too.
Well, I didn't even notice that you hesitated, but God bless you, my dear, dear friend. Thank you for your comments. They are always appreciated. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to block the aisle of people that's really got something to say, but I think I owe the world an apology because I am a Republican. I do believe in God, and my God is Jesus Christ, and I'm going to stay there and not move. I drew the line many years ago, and I'm going to abide by that line I drew. I'm not going to change it. Anyway, I hope I don't ever change it.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
He is going. They might lambaste me enough. I might.
No, stay firm, stay tough. Stay firm and stay tough.
And may the Lord bless you and every one of them young people out there listening, because I know they're all younger than me.
All right.
Even Keith.
All right, Jerry, God bless you, man. Thank you. Stand firm, my friend. Stand firm, I guarantee you. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Rain for Rent with Jake and the crew. Hello! Oh, Jake, how you doing over there? They're a Reinke Diamond dealer, and believe me, they've got a dedicated is a keyword, sales and service staff to serve you with all your irrigation needs. You know, really, if you've got questions and you got problems or whatever, just call them. 438-5065. I'll repeat it. Rain for Rent, 438-5065. They're located at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. And believe me, they're there to serve you in all your irrigation needs, and they will help you. Absolutely. Rain for Rent over in Paul, 438-5065. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your patience.
You know, the timing of these things always, I really question it. And you don't know how these people might be in a weakened mental state, and then all it takes is for something to push them over the top. And the timing, you know, I guess, I honestly believe the timing, I can't prove any of this, but what happened was to get our minds off the fact that there was supposed to be indictments handed down against the Democrats, DNC, whatever, the Department of Justice this week from, the Attorney General Barr and Durham. And, this sounds like conspiracy theory stuff, you bet. But I tell you what, every time we get close to something that they want us distracted, they don't want us to think about what's going on with that. It's a terrible thought that somebody could actually encourage somebody to go do this who is in a weakened state, and our fellow brothers out here and sisters will die.
You know, Randy, let me jump in. Randy, let me jump in here for a minute, because you're saying things here this morning that yesterday, with one of my dearest friends and dearest guests on this program, Richard Manning, back in Washington, D.C., when both of us intimated the same thing that you're saying this morning. It just has got to be a little questionable about what you're saying, the timing and all of this coming up, when it does, how it happens and everything. And like both Richard and I and other guests have said on this program, that there has to be a observance, if you will, as to how and who is behind a lot of this, and check more into the background instead of just the one single individual. I think you're really on to something. I think a lot of people should be aware and cognizant of what's going on, and I think more questions need to be asked.
Well, I'll tell you what, people in power will do anything to keep it. If you look at history, if you're in the way, they will kill you dead. And they don't care how many, because all that matters, they don't believe in God. They don't believe there'll be any kind of consequences for their actions. All that matters is control, and controlling the people, and remaining in power. And the insanity of the Democrats to get power back, they will do anything. And the depth of the deep state is so deep that you and I tell you what, man, Donald Trump has got to be the toughest man that ever walked other than Jesus. Because I tell you what, he has been beat up one side and down the other. Every day he runs through the gauntlet, and it's an endless gauntlet.
I agree. You know, you bring up some excellent points, as you normally always do. And, my fear, I said this, if you'll remember, you were one of the callers, as a matter of fact, 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I said, what if Donald Trump all of a sudden says, I'm done. I am sick and tired of being raked over the coals. I am sick and tired of being demonized. I've had it. What if he decides to pull out? Then America's kind of left, and pardon the expression, with their pants down, and this is going to be really horrendous.
I tell you what, there's nobody like him, and and he's so effective, even under the unbelievable circumstances that he's under, and he's still getting the job done. and he has been beat to death. Thank God he likes a good fight. I think he wakes up and it's invigorating to him. Again, I'm saying this again. People say he looks younger now than he did when he started this. And, I don't know. Thank God, huh?
Yeah. Randy, I appreciate your call, buddy. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Caller number 2, I'll be right there, I promise. Stand by. I got to tell everybody the Cache County Fair is coming up starting actually this next Saturday, the 10th. Yes, it is, with the great big Tracy Byrd concert. Sponsored by Goody Motors, and it's going to be held in the Idaho Central Credit Union Arena. Starting at 8 o'clock Saturday night. I'm telling you, Tracy Byrd does an outstanding job. So please get a hold of the fair office. Get your tickets. It's going to be ripping good this coming Saturday, August 10th, to kick off the 2019 Cache County Fair and Rodeo. Tracy Byrd. Don't forget that Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Get your tickets now. Other great people that we'd like to acknowledge that want you to come on to the Cache County Fair include Kelly's Bearings at 1407 East Main in Burley. Don't forget, Kelly's Bearing Supply keeps everything on hand, so you don't have to waste your time or money. Just get everything right there. You'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. Excellent people in Burley. Kelly's Bearings. Don't forget, too, Magic Valley Irrigation at 44 East, 500 South in Burley. Hey, Jeff and the crew, great folks, and they've been in system service and repair since 1978. Good people ready to serve you at Magic Valley Irrigation. And Mountain Transmissions, 1146 East Main in Burley, right across the street from Stokes. Don't forget, I'll tell you, if your transmission doesn't sound right, it's slipping a little bit, get in there for a free estimate at Mountain Transmissions, 1146 East Main in Burley, with Rick and the crew. Good folks. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Cory Booker likes to call Trump a racist. Well, how do you think he got elected? The people of his own race, who basically hate the whites, are the ones that put him in office. So he's just as big a racist as anybody.
I'm going to come right out and say again that I think anybody that throws the term racist at anyone is a low class, and I'm going to leave the rest of the name calling blank. I'm going to let everybody fill in the blanks. It happened to me back in 2007, and it happened because of the Idaho Democratic Party and some loons that live right here in Magic Valley. They called me a racist because I do not like, and will never like Barack Obama, but I was at the same time supporting Condoleezza Rice for president. They're not very smart people, and I don't give them credit for being very smart.
Well, people like Cory Booker are responsible, basically partly responsible for this invasion we've got of people of different colors that are flooding our country, and for one reason only, and that's just to bring you and I to our knees.
Anyone today, Tony, that speaks out about against illegal immigration, illegal aliens, and the problems at the border. Right now, the Democrats, their party is ready to hang the big word above their head that says bigot. And this is why the divide in this country is getting so serious, so dangerous, and so irreparable, is because we have people that are ready to hang those labels on people. And once that happens, you're going to be looking at a civil social war that I don't think can ever be stilled.
Well, we're being taken over one city at a time. How long will it be before these people that can't speak English are going to raise their flag over the White House? They'll have total control over us.
Yeah, but we as Americans, we as the taxpayers, we as the citizens, we're the ones that are called the racist tag. And it's just driving me nuts. Thank you, Tony. God bless you for your call, as always. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye.
Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to go back, though, and just state again, And I honestly hope and pray, there are some Democrats out in the audience right now that are listening, never have the guts to call in, that are listening and are possible supporters of that absolutely despicable person, Beto O'Rourke, to use in his news clip a denunciation of Jesus. I find that to be as low as possible. And I will never, ever, regardless of how far that man goes politically, ever acknowledge him as anybody but vile, sinister, and pond scum. Berry Equipment and Rental. Let's not forget our friends over there, of course, with locations at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. When it comes to equipment, and when it comes to doing big jobs of lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying, grading, leveling, whatever, they've got everything. And if you're not sure how to run it, they'll teach you how to run it. Absolutely. Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. And believe me, they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. They've got all the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes. Excellent financing programs, excellent lease programs. You check it out today. Berry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Really, really good people. What else is in the news? I got to say, has anybody out there seen, and this is completely removed from what we're talking about, completely removed, but it's just a little point that I saw on television. There is a commercial on TV. And I know you're going to laugh and say, well, it's no big deal, Zeb. It's just a kind of a cartoon fictional commercial. But it's a commercial for a product called Chantix. And it shows a turkey. I know. It shows a turkey leaving the beach in a convertible and putting the surfboard in the convertible and driving back home. Well, and I don't know why I picked up on this, but it just showed kind of stupidity to me. But he gets in his driveway, the turkey does, gets out of his convertible and walks away and turns around and goes click, click, and locks an open-topped convertible. Kind of dumb, isn't it? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, I want to remind you that if you are starting to have some hearing problems, don't let it diminish. Don't let it get lower and lower and lower. Hearing loss happens sometimes very gradually, but I would suggest you please call Mount Harrison Audiology. Please, for a diagnostic test, a hearing test, to see what the problem may be and how it can be corrected. Call them at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, they bring you the weather.
Oh boy, today is definitely going to be a hot one. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. And the estimated high is going to be right around 96, possible triple digits, just depending upon where you're at in the valley. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, cooling off to 62. Partly sunny for tomorrow with a high of 90. Mostly cloudy skies for Wednesday night with a low of 60. Those clouds are going to stick around for Thursday. And we will have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. We're going to be cooling off to about mid-80s for Thursday. Thursday night, slight chance of thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies in the overnight hours with a low of 54. Then for Friday, sunny skies and highs going to be close to 90. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at 3.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Gina. And Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. By the way, comments have been made over the last couple of weeks regarding me and my statements regarding Idaho Power. And yes, I have come out and called them cowards. Yes, I have called them hiding behind their desk or in the closet for not wanting to answer questions about them going to a so-called 100% green energy program in about 20 years. I can't do this fight by myself. But I think questions need to be asked, questions need to be answered, and Idaho Power is hiding under their desk and acting very arrogant and not answering these questions. It's a publicly owned energy company. Keywords, publicly owned energy company that will not answer questions from the public. And I urge you to either drop a note when you pay your bill. Why won't they answer questions about green energy? Why won't they answer questions about the future? Why won't they answer questions about all the various forms of energy and how the costs might be related to a higher cost to them, the ratepayers? All of this and these questions need to be answered, and I'm prepared to have them on the program and ask those questions, but they're hiding under their desk and did not even have the courtesy in some regards to answer or call back after I left messages. That's rude, that's arrogant, and that's spineless. And that's Idaho Power. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. The $15 an hour idiocy, that's what it is coming back, and people are going, whoa, maybe that's a mistake. Well, gee whiz Gomer. New York is finding, with the demands of a $15 an hour minimum wage, that a lot of jobs are going, adios, we're out of here. Employers can't afford to provide that kind of job payment to entry-level jobs. These people, entry-level, making $30,000 a year for flipping burgers and then not knowing where to find the buns? Are you kidding me? Well, now they're seeing that it's not working so well. Gee, $15 an hour is losing jobs and, very sadly, losing businesses. And I'm going to say this, government, in my opinion, has no doggone reason to be involved in private enterprise telling people how much they have to pay people. I just don't like that. I never did. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sir Bell. This is Juan Castro, a good friend of Keith. I just called to let you know that I was just as disgusted as the rest of you people with what's happening to our country, Sir Bell. I'm originally from Texas, and I can tell you what, I've been around racists and everything, but I'm an old man now, and I tell you what. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. I'm listening, sir. Go ahead.
Anyway, sir, well, it's good to be an American. It's good to be an American. I don't consider myself I don't call myself a Hispanic or anything else. I call myself a true loving American. I love this country. You know why we love it, sir? I'll tell you why we love it. Because we sacrifice a lot for this country. My father, my mother, my brothers and sisters, my cousin, my entire family in Texas. We were served in World War II. We served in the Korean War. We were in the Navy, Marines, and everywhere. And right now, as we speak, I have two brothers that are that are prison guards in California prison. I tell you what, sir, Bill, we appreciate this country because we made a lot of sacrifices, sir, Bill.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people that are coming here, they don't make it. They're not making sacrifices for our country. It cost us a lot to keep this country. It cost us a lot, blood, sweat, and tears, said Bill. And I, for one, am proud of what we did to accomplish what we have in this country. People that don't make sacrifice don't appreciate anything, said Bill. Don't appreciate anything.
I agree.
And that's why we have this problem. We have a lot of people in Congress. We have a lot of people running for president that don't know what it means to sacrifice, said Bill. We need
to go back to we made a lot of sacrifices, Bill, and this is what we need to do, tell our children. Unless the sacrifices made, nothing will be truly loved and appreciated.
Let me ask you a question. I hope and I pray, and I mean this seriously, that you and I can get together sometime, shake hands, and sit down and talk, because I really respect your comments. I respect your past. I respect your reverence and love for this country, and thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Sir Bill. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
America.
Thank you.
Love this country and make sacrifices for this country.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What a nice man. And he makes some very solid, valid points. I want to meet him. Somehow I hope we can get together and shake hands. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. It's kind of hard to follow that up. I was calling about the $15 an hour wage thing. People will say, well, the employers don't pay what you're worth. Well, how about you're not worth what you think you are?
That's right.
The employers who don't pay, the employers who refuse to pay what you are worth, then go find another job. It's not that hard. There are a lot of jobs out there right now, a lot of people hiring. If the person you're working for, you feel like they don't appreciate you and the hard work you do, then guess what? It's capitalist society. Go somewhere else.
Riley, you absolutely have summed up everything in a very small 30-second news clip. Yeah, if you're not happy with what you're getting paid, the job market is out there where you can look at the marquees on any street and you'll see job wanted, job wanted, job wanted, hire within. I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I'm sick and tired of the government telling people what they need to be paid when they're entry-level jobs and they're not smart enough to even turn on a toaster.
Well, I tell you, in my profession, there's ample opportunity in many different places, but I'm fortunate enough that I've gone through quite a few jobs in my lifetime, and that's just because I found one that was better than the other, and I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. I'm content, but I'm not satisfied. I can get better, and maybe one day I will, but it doesn't restrain me from trying to making my future brighter and bigger.
Absolutely.
You have to look at what you have and what the benefits are, weigh the situation out, use your doggone brain that God gave you, and go out and find a better job.
There you go. Riley, I'm voting for you, man. I'll put your name on the ballot. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate your call.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. He's spot on. Spot on. I don't like the government saying, you shall pay this little pimply face guy $15 an hour. What does he know? Nothing. But you're going to pay him $30,000 a year so he can stand there and learn how to flip a burger. Are you kidding me? Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. With the best of tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for all your vehicles, cars, SUVs, pickups, horse trailers, boat trailers, everything. You need tires? Don't put it off. Nothing worse than getting down the road and all of a sudden, poof, you got a problem. Well, please get in there and let them help you today at any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And also, before you go on a trip, they'll give you a free pre-trip safety check. Checking your tires, your wheel alignment, your front end components, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this. They want you to leave point A, like I said yesterday, and go to point B, and then whoop, turn around and come back home safely. Absolutely. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pauline and Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you for all your calls. Thank you very much, and don't quit, because, man, I'll tell you, this program revolves around you. I would not, could not, and don't want to do this program if it is not for your involvement. I appreciate that. Coming up next hour, honestly, if you can, listen. It's going to be a really good half hour. Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance is going to be on the air. And simply put, we're going to talk about why not coal. And then at 9:30, we've got my dear friend Raynard Jackson coming on, and we're going to be talking about the racial divide in this country and liberalism and everybody stirring the pot. And it is being stirred. Tomorrow morning, don't forget at 10:06, we've got the Old Fishing Hole, sponsored by Sportsman's Warehouse at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Josh Anderson will be somewhere enjoying fishing, either on a trout stream or on a lake, river, whatever. It's always interesting. So that's tomorrow morning at 10:06. Sportsman's Warehouse with the Old Fishing Hole and Josh Anderson. For all your outdoor needs, don't forget it's Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. We are going to go to the news right now from CBS. So they're going to tear apart everything we put together. We'll be back in 7. Have yourself a great day. Oh, good morning, and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for your driving needs. Don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And also some wonderful people at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Stop in and see them, please. Right now, this good word for Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
They are always at your disposal. Western Way Services. Don't forget, if you need a dumpster like me in this office, they come in various sizes, big and not so big, and then a little bit smaller. But I'll tell you what, I think I need a couple of big ones. Clean this office out. Call for a dumpster, they'll drop it off, and then you fill it up, they'll come and get it. Western Way Services, the number 734-6969. It's true, they are always at your disposal. Wonderful, wonderful people. Oh my goodness, in just a few minutes we're going to have a dear friend of mine on the program, and that's Dan Kish, and stand by for that. But I also want to remind you about our friends over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, the manager, his family, and his staff, serving you and your family. And they serve your families with the best possible support and comfort when there's the passing of a loved one. And don't forget, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please call the number 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have turned this into a weekly segment, and quite frankly, I don't think we're ever going to run out of things to talk about. And this morning, I'm very proud to welcome back on my program with the American Energy Alliance, a gentleman that has been for years on this show off and on, Dan Kish. Dan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb. Hope you're well.
I am doing very well, but I've got a question for you this morning, and with your information in front of you and education on all the subjects, why is coal today, right now today, such a villain to the United States and the world as far as using it as an energy source? Why, with all the technology? Why, with all the technocracy? Why, with all the changes that are environmental friendly? Why do we want to get away from a power source that is so amplified in its supply to where it could go for over 1,000 years? Why are we leaving coal?
Well, that you pretty much answered it, Zeb. I mean, the twisted part about the way this all works nowadays is that if we have something in abundance that's affordable and reliable and God-given and right under our feet, that's the stuff that they want to stop us from getting to, whether it's Canada's oil sands or Anwar's oil up in Alaska or the offshore oil or the coal deposits. I mean, the fact of the matter is the U.S. has the largest coal deposits in the world, bar none, bigger than the next three countries in the world combined, at least in terms of the stuff that's already been found. And because it's such a because it's such a huge source of energy, and they basically want to use energy to sort of control our lives. It's another lever that control freaks basically want to be able to boss us around and tell us they want it off to the side. They say it's because of carbon dioxide, but they're trying to do the same thing with natural gas, which we found in abundance in the United States. They're shutting down nuclear power plants that don't put out any carbon dioxide. They're against hydropower and want to tear down the dams, and they don't produce any carbon dioxide. So, you know, it's always something. They'll always cook up some excuse to try to crank up the people that support them, and they nod their heads and say, absolutely, that's exactly right. We need to tear down the dams and do away with the nuclear power plants and run everything on wind and solar. But, you know, wind and solar have their environmental impacts too, and much of that stuff we're getting from China, and you know, we're pretty much locked in a war with China right now.
Absolutely. Wheels over at the station, we're getting a little feedback, but if you could turn when Mr. Kish is speaking, turn him up just a little bit in my headsets, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Dan, I want to talk to you specifically about coal-generating plants like we have out here in the West at Fort Bridger, Wyoming, the Valmy plant down near Winnemucca, Nevada. They have been doing an outstanding, very efficient job. And then, like we alluded to a couple of weeks ago on the program, the wonderful Knowing All, Idaho Power has said that they're going to get away from all that, and they're going to go strictly 100% green power in about 20 years, which I think is asinine, stupid, and there's other words I'd like to use. But why are we leaving? I do not understand why we're leaving efficient energy sources that are keeping the electrical grid up and running, even with more amplification of the grid needed. I mean, more people getting onto the grid, more things being used electrical. Why in the world do you want to go to something that you don't know if you turn the switch on, you're going to get lights 3 days from now?
Because they make more money if they can build a new generation facility, because they're able to charge more in your bills for your electricity if they can build something new rather than use something that's already paid for. It's like having a trusty truck that serves you well, that's paid for. Your insurance costs aren't as high. You may not get as good a gas mileage as if you had the latest shiny new thing, but it's a steady seed, and it's paid for. And they actually make money when they go out and buy a new truck.
You know, this is insane what's happening in this country, especially with coal. I know a lot of people in the coal business, whether it's in Virginia or other parts of the United States, and they're sitting there and they're just ready to tear their hair out, because here with all, like I said a minute ago, and I think you'll agree with me, the technology, the technocracy, all the environmental concerns and everything have been addressed and are getting better every year. Our air is cleaner in this country than anywhere else, any other country in the world that's a major industrial nation like we are, and I don't know why the American public is so gullible to think that a little wind propeller is going to be the answer.
Well, I tell you, Zeb, you know, they've been beating on them for years now, decades. Been telling people that things are getting worse when they've actually been getting better. Saying that saying that our air is dirtier when in fact it's cleaner by every measure. Same with water. Life is better, but that doesn't sell newspapers, and that doesn't get hits on and clicks. So there's always the terrible story that you read somewhere about these things, when in reality things are getting better. And I don't know, you know, we have a government that studies these things and puts out numbers, and you can look for yourself. It's real easy. You basically see everything getting better, and we're actually using more energy but polluting less. Our life expectancy is up. All of these things at the same time, and yet we're being told constantly that the world's coming to an end. It's no wonder we have a suicide problem with our young in this, or, you know, people going off and creating all kinds of terrible mayhem when everybody's told that their lives are getting worse and it's inevitable. I mean, we have a crisis of spirit in this country. We don't have a crisis of resources. We don't have a crisis of ingenuity. We don't have a crisis of hard work or good land with which to do it. We have a crisis of spirit, and it's been building for decades, 50 years, and we're seeing the consequences of it now.
You know, that is as well put as I've ever heard our problem today. We have a crisis in spirit. You know, you're 100% right. And I'm just going to be a little political right here, Dan, and if you don't want to chime in, I'll understand. But when you listen to the likes of the Democrats with the finger pointing and the blame game and everything else, just trying to score political points, possibly to move them up a percentage point or two in the polls when they're like Beto O'Rourke down at zero anyway, this is so insane that common sense can't prevail. And that's really pertaining to the energy industry also. Common sense. Wind and solar are not going to cut the cake. You're not going to be able to provide all the electric cars, all the new needs and modes of electricity in the future just off of wind and solar, which is so inconsistent. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. As a matter of fact, right now they're lobbying in Washington to try to get tax credits, not deductions, but tax credits for big, huge battery systems to back up the wind and solar. They realize that, hey, it's not good enough to just have the wind and solar tax credits and the state mandates that force us to build this stuff and force it to buy it from our companies. We also need to now have taxpayer-subsidized batteries, all coming from China, and the components of which come from some of the most god-awful places in the world in terms of both environmental protections as well as support for workers and the like. They use child labor to gain 50% of the cobalt that they get from the Republic of the Congo, and it's instrumental. It goes into every one of those lithium batteries for electric cars and all the rest of the so-called green technologies. In fact, if people have access to the Internet, the Wall Street Journal today has an editorial on the WSJ.com by a fellow who knows his stuff, who talks about, you know, if you think you're going to get along with renewable energy, you better start digging, because we're going to need a huge amount of energy and cement and iron and plastics and oil and coal and you name it, because it actually takes more to make this stuff in many cases than it does than you get from it.
Absolutely. You know, you just solidified my point this morning, and I thank you so much for that. Like Idaho Power, they have run and hid under their desk when I've asked them to come on the program and talk about the costs. And you know doggone well, you just amplified that. There are going to be a lot of transitional costs that absolutely are going to really hurt the ratepayers and the possible service of electricity to the ratepayers. And they're not coming out and being honest about the costs. And here's something else I want you to elaborate on. The land. We're talking about acres upon acres acres upon acres for these wind turbines and solar panel farms and everything else. My God, you talk about absolutely ruination of the land and aesthetical value of the land going downhill. Dan, this is horrendous.
Well, in many parts of the country where folks have been surrounded by these things, they feel exactly the same way, Zeb. And, familiarity breeds contempt when it comes to much of this. It sounds good, it looks bucolic when it's on a TV ad or in a newspaper ad or something like that, and then you get one and the thing's constantly thumping in the background and making shadows across you. And then you begin to look a little deeper into it, and you find out that, if this is the way people want to go, so be it. This is America. People should do this. But they ought to have to reveal these things. They ought to have to reveal these additional costs that are going to accrue to the consumer instead of giving us some nonsense about how this stuff is cheaper than other electrical supplies that we have, especially when I go back to my analogy of a pickup truck. If you've got that 8-year-old pickup truck and it's doing just fine, your costs compared to what it would take to take out a note on a brand new one are going to be a lot less.
Absolutely.
And that's just the way it works. Remember that they're not only in the business of running that car, they actually get paid when they buy a new one.
Dan...
They get paid by you. They get paid by the consumer.
That's right. That's right. My concern is, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm being just totally negative, I'm just being honest and realistic this morning. But I study this, I read these stories, I try to do as much research as I can. And right now, with the false charges that are going on in the media, which is led by the Democrats and the liberals, and the education system of teaching our youngsters all the way from kindergarten up through college, about energy's bad and we've got to all live in caves and burn buffalo dung. I'm honestly concerned about future generations. I'm concerned about my grandsons, the oldest being a junior in high school. I'm concerned about their future for their families. I'm concerned about the rest of the kids coming up in our society because, my God, what are they going to do? How are they going to live? How are they going to exist?
Well, these are all problems that we're faced with, Zeb. I mean, these are the sorts of things you always worry about your kids and your grandkids, and if you're blessed enough to have great grandkids. The point is, we want to leave a better world for our kids, and we are in many respects. Is the whole point, but nobody seems to know it. The fact of the matter is, we're better off. We're living longer. We all know people who live well into their 90s now. That wasn't common 20, 30 years ago. Things are changing. All of these things are changing as a consequence of making life better, of cleaner air, cleaner water, more reliable sources of energy. And then we have these people who say, wait a minute, things are going too good. We got to goof it up.
Yeah.
Get the government's fingers in there, and the next thing you know, people find workarounds on the business side of things. Gee, I can make a buck off of this. If they're going to order me to tear down our coal plants because carbon dioxide, that's great. We weren't making a lot of money off this anyway. Now we can build something new and make a lot of money off it. And that's the way the system works, and unfortunately, we all get sucked into it.
You know what I'm going to say to wrap this up with you is, and I want to get your comment on this, I think rural America, whether it's a small farm, whether it's a ranch, doesn't make any difference. Or whether it's somebody living in rural America on 2 acres and enjoying the good life out in the country with the fresh air. Rural America is going going gone because of these people that want to change and transition America and move everybody to a nucleus of living in the city underneath the rule and control of government. And maybe I sound far-fetched, Dan, but that's the way I feel they're doing.
Well, I think there's a lot of that, Zeb. I think Charlie Daniels sang about that probably 3 decades ago. You know, country boy can't survive. And there's a lot of that. Frankly, it's a lot easier to control people when they're all in a city and they have to, know what bus route to take and all the rest of the things. And so it's worth protecting and defending, and to be. It's incumbent upon us to be watchful for those things that would make our lives worse. And driving up the cost of energy is one of the worst possible things you could do to rural America. One
Absolutely.
of the worst possible, because they don't have to spend a bunch of money on gasoline in the city. They're just stuck in traffic. You sure do when you live out in the country.
Absolutely. Dan, there's so many things I wished we had time to talk about this morning, but I am out of time. And ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to listen every Tuesday. This man knows his stuff with the American Energy Alliance, Dan Kish. Dan, God bless you, and I mean that. And I'll look forward to having you back on next Tuesday.
God bless you, Zeb, and your audience.
Thank you, sir. I consider him to be one of our great, great friends on this program, Dan Kish. And again, another individual that we've never had the occasion to meet personally. I'd look forward to that. And but I do appreciate his opinion and his taking the time to be on my show. Thank you very much. As I stated in the first hour, you are getting ready, set, and go for the great big Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. It's going to start this coming Saturday. Yeah, oh my goodness, just around the corner. Saturday, August 10th, this coming Saturday at 8 o'clock in the arena, the Idaho Central Credit Union Arena, and sponsored by Goody Motors, Tracy Bird Concert. Oh, I mean country music. I mean a ripping good show. Puts on a good show. Tracy Bird. Get your tickets now. Get a hold of the fair office and make sure you are going to be there. Then on Sunday, don't forget, August 11th, this next weekend, the Great Big Monster Truck Insanity, put on by Live a Little Productions. Whoa, what a way to kick off your Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Saturday and Sunday coming up this week, the Tracy Bird Concert on Saturday and the Monster Truck Insanity on Sunday. Wow. Also, I want to remind you, too, about many of the great merchants that are inviting you to be a part of your Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. It takes a lot of people in the community to get behind their fair and rodeo, and they want to be sure and mention Burley Veterinary Hospital at 2869 Overland in Burley. Man, I'll tell you what, 2 great doctors for all your animal needs, and don't forget, all you got to do is just give them a call at 678-5509, Burley Veterinary Hospital, 2869 Overland in Burley. And our dear friends with Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. Quality seed, always quality seed, barley, wheat, triticale, oats, alfalfa, everything right there with a great staff serving you at Golden Valley Warehouse. And last but not least, Mountain Transmissions, 1146 East Main in Burley, right across the street from Stokes. Hey, I'll tell you, Rick says, come on in. Free towing within 50 miles and also free diagnostic and free estimate. 678-9110. Mountain Transmissions in Burley. All of them wishing you a lot of fun at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Right now, we're going to take a minute before we get our next guest on the air. And I want to talk a little bit about the beautification and the comfortization, I like those words, of your home. And that's, of course, through our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Hello, Jeff and the crew over there. They get there every day to serve you with the best of all your floor coverings. They've got great deals on carpets and luxury vinyl planks. And don't forget, they've got reduced prices on a lot of mattresses and recliners. And when it comes to recliners, you got to get in and try one on. They've got recliners for tall people, short people, thin people, and other people like us. So stop in and check it out today at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. They're located at 459 Overland in Burley. Don't forget the name, Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. There is a gentleman that started coming on this program probably about a little over a month ago. And I have the utmost respect for him and his thoughts, and I look forward to having him on the air because somehow a man like him, we have to keep promoting to bring this country together and stop this great big chasm, this huge divide that is happening in this country with racism. And I welcome to the program this morning the founder and leader of Black Americans for a Better Future, Raynard Jackson. My friend, how are you?
Hey, Jeb, I'm always doing better when I see your voice and hear your smile.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the different stories and emails that I get regarding what you're talking about and how you'd like to help this country get back together again. But, Raynard, I don't want to sound totally negative when we start this morning, and I want you to remain with that optimism that you so clearly have. But I see this chasm, like I said a minute ago, this divide in this country is getting deeper and wider and more dangerous. Do you see it the same thing, or am I wrong?
No, I see the same thing, but remember, Zeb, in the midst of chaos, confusion, and division, there's always opportunity. Now, we conservatives, Zeb, as you and I have been talking about, we have a great opportunity to bring this country together if we would go into the black community with a strategic communication strategy and just engage with the black community. We can heal all this racial divide, but again, when will conservatives take their message to the marketplace of ideas within the black community?
Let me ask you, though, Raynard, and you're so far knowledgeable, more so than I am on this subject, but you say into the black community. If I went in there with you anywhere, whether it's Chicago, New York, or anywhere you choose, would they accept me? Would they listen to me? Would they appreciate me? Would they listen to what I have to say or not?
If you're with me or someone similar to me, that meaning someone who has credibility and relationships in the black community, that's what conservatives seem to be totally tone deaf on. I have seen so many white conservatives try to go into Baltimore last week for various reasons after the battle with the president. And again, Zeb, you can't just parachute into a city where you have no relationship, and because of the way we in the black community receive a situation like that is, oh, here's the white man coming into a poor little black community because we're too stupid to save and solve our own problem, so we need Massa to come in and save us from ourselves. No, we don't need the white folks to be our savior. We just need white folks to get the hell out of the way, and let's bring in some conservative principles to solve these problems. And so, no, someone like you, where I understand your heart and mindset, if you go in with a credible black, yes, they will listen to you and they will warmly receive you if you're coming in with solutions. But if you're just there to say, God bless you, we're going to pray for you, and have your stomach be filled, and you don't offer any food, then they're going to ridicule you.
I agree, totally. But now let me point a specific finger at Chicago. How can we solve the problem? Chicago is absolutely a war zone in certain parts of Chicago where every day my heart goes out to those families that are living in Chicago, not knowing if they walk to the grocery store or if they have to walk to work in the morning or whatever the case might be. They may be shot and killed, or there may be some gang member come up, or groups of people, and beatings and robbed and everything. How are we going to get that cleaned up?
It's going to happen, Jeb, when the grassroots people in Chicago, which is where I grew up, there, so I'm very familiar with the territory there. When black folks on the grassroots level, not the elected official, because remember, Zeb, Chicago has not had a Republican mayor in almost 80 years.
That's right.
They have consistently been run by black and white, very liberal Democrats, and they have devastated the black community. And again, what I keep telling people, and I tell the White House, conservatives, and anyone who will listen to me, that this is an indictment on liberal policies in Baltimore, Ferguson, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco. When will conservatives take advantage of this indictment? The American people have found liberalism to be wanting, and they have found liberalism to be a total disaster. So when will we take our solutions into these communities and say, you tried this for 80 years, let's try a solution that we guarantee you it's going to work. So let us form a partnership with you to work to solve these problems. That's the solution.
I totally agree with you. But now, again, I've been to Chicago, but not in these areas. I don't know. I'm very naive and I'm uneducated as to how bad it is or what is the cause of these problems. But are there enough people living in those areas that can say, okay, that's enough. We're going to form groups. We're going to start to clean this thing up from the inside out? Or do they not have any leadership within these areas? I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, the answer is yes. There are leaders there on the ground in Chicago, Ferguson, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Baltimore. I know most of them. They're doing the Lord's work there, but no one ever gives them a platform to talk about their solution, not the problem, their solution. No one ever goes into these communities there and says, how can we partner with you? How can we be a resource for you? We don't want to tell you what to do. You tell us what you need from us, and we will go and get it and bring it back to you.
You know, Raynard, over the years, I've been on this talk show, and I alluded to this one day on the program with you. Back in 2007, I was hailed as a racist by the Idaho State Democratic Party, and then they sicked their dogs on me and everything because I did not I still do not like Obama in any way, shape, or form. At the same time that I was criticizing Barack Obama, I was absolutely trying to enlist and encourage Condoleezza Rice to run for the presidency. How can I be a racist on one hand and not on the other?
Well, it's very simple, Zeb. You not have me come out there and put my arm around you and take a photo with you. See, once I do that, I transfer my beauty and grace over to you, so that insulates you from being a racist. So we're going to have to correct that problem. But listen, Zeb, in all seriousness, I often tell people that weak people make strong positions on weak issues, and so when they cannot rebut what you're saying philosophically and intellectually, then they just throw the race card at you, because to the average white person, that scares the hell out of them. Being called a racist to white folks is almost worse than having cancer. And people like you, Zeb, who have a good heart, who have no malice in your heart, stop caving in to these people. If you know you're not a racist, you don't need to go around justifying your existence, because you know what's in your heart, and you have black friends all over the place. So when the liberals run out of arguments, they're going to throw these labels at you, because that's the way to shut up most white folks.
You have a sentence in one of your writings, and it's from Liberalism's Continued Abuse of Blacks that you had written. And this sentence just reached out and hit me right between the eyes. And I'm going to read it, and I want you to describe it and explain it. Liberalism, like drug addiction, never seeks a solution, but rather seeks dependency. That says a lot in very few words.
Well, yeah, and let me tell you something. If you look back over the history of blacks in this country, every time the government has involved themselves in our lives, somehow we've gotten screwed, other than the civil rights movement. Remember, you're too young to remember the Tuskegee experiments in Birmingham, Alabama, back in the 50s and the 60s, where this U.S. government infected black soldiers coming home from war with syphilis because they wanted to see if blacks would react to syphilis like a normal human. They infected blacks and didn't tell them, and they went home to their girlfriend, their wives, had sex, and spread a disease throughout the black community that they just admitted to doing back in the 70s. And so when you have government involved, you come up with welfare. That devastated the black community, especially the black family. And so other than the civil rights movement, for the most part, when government has gotten involved in the lives of blacks, it's always left us worse off, Zeb, and black folks know that. So like James Brown, the godfather of soul, used to say, Zeb, I don't need you to give me anything. Just open up the door and I'll get it myself.
There you go.
And that's what conservative policies is about. Not equal outcome, not a guaranteed outcome, but if someone puts an artificial barrier in your path, from a conservative perspective, then we will move heaven and earth to remove that barrier because we want you to succeed and go as far as your work ethic and determination will take you.
Right now in this country, with the 20-some-odd individuals that are running for the presidential nomination on the Democratic Party, and then on the other side, Donald Trump, you made a comment in another writing that I want you to comment on, and you said, quote, "The Republican Party and the conservative movement are totally ill-prepared and unqualified to properly deal with the issue of race." I really want you to explain that.
Well, it's very simple, that Republicans and conservatives have very little, if any, engagement with, again, real black folks who have experience and knowledge about race relations. People like a Bob Brown from North Carolina, Bob Woodson in New York, Jennifer Carroll in Florida, Richard Finley in Birmingham, and Carvin Hagens in Philadelphia. They will sit up here and go to, I'll give you a classic example. A few years ago, when Ryan Spree was chairman of the party, this is probably about 2013, yeah, it was, I arranged for him to give a Black History Month speech to a group of black entrepreneurs. And I said, Ryan, who's going to write your speech? He pointed to so-and-so, and this person was a 22-year-old white boy. Then what the hell does he know about civil rights and Martin Luther King at 22 years of age? I said, Ryan, you're crazy. I will write your speech for you, which I did. Because how do you have a 22-year-old writing a speech that's going to resonate with a black business community? So my point being, they don't have blacks around who can help them navigate this treacherous terrain of race and racism, and because of that, they end up trying to do the right thing, but they do it the wrong way.
You know, you wrote another piece, too, called The Biggest Threat to Black Folks, and you talked about the media, you talked about black Republicans getting on national television and everything. Your point was so well taken by me that it seems like the media, they say they're out for racial harmony, but they seem to sow more discord than anything else.
Oh, without question. And again, Zeb, because we conservative, black and white, we don't push back on a lot of this foolishness, especially when it comes to race. A lie that's repeated enough times, becomes the truth. And so a lot of times conservatives say, but we're not racist, we're not this, we're not. But did you respond on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News? Did you respond in the newspaper when they said A, B, and C? And the answer is no. So why do you expect the general public to believe you're not a racist when these liberal TV networks constantly 24/7 tell the American people how racist Republicans, we're white nationalists, we're xenophobic, we're white nationalists, and yet nobody pushes back with any substantive arguments, Zeb. So, again, a lot of this is our fault as conservatives.
Well, okay, you touched on something right there, and I've said this yesterday, and then I had it a couple of weeks ago on my program. I'm a Caucasian. And I am proud of my skin color, and I'm also a nationalist underneath the definition of that word, to where I love this country more than any other country in the world. I've been all over the world. I love what the United States has done for me as a citizen with the opportunities and everything. So if I'm a white nationalist, why are these words being twisted today to create me as a bigot?
It's very simple. As I wrote in the column that came out today, Zeb, when you're debating people, especially with you having a media platform, we have to never, ever assume that the general public knows the terms on which you're using. So you say you are white national, and I agree, you are a white national because you do put America's interests before any other person. I'm a nationalist, too. I'm a black national, meaning I love America just like you do, Zeb. And you know what? I want America's interests before any other country. So you and I both are nationalists, but the media never defines what they mean. When they use the term white nationalist, they never define it. And so whenever I'm doing interviews, especially if it's a hostile interview, I force everyone I'm engaged with to define. When you say nationalist or white nationalist, tell me the definition of it so we can then have an engaged debate based on similar definitions. But they're based on what I know about you love America. Therefore, that is the definition of a national, and you just happen to be white. So I'm a nationalist, too. I happen to be black. You and our views on America are identical.
Absolutely.
Both are national.
But why today, and I'm really offended by people like Joe Scarborough and others in the media that are equating the term white nationalist the same as white supremacist. And that makes me so mad my fists are clenched right now.
Yeah, but again, you're too young to remember former California U.S. Senator in the early 80s, S.I. Hayakawa, who was from a Japanese family.
Oh, yes, yes.
We used his English book in my freshman English at Oral Roberts, and what Hayakawa would always, he said in his book, in Language and Thought and Action, meanings are in people, not in words. So I can walk up to your wife, Zeb, if you're married, and say to your wife, "Oh, Susie, that outfit you have on is stupid. It's dope. I mean, it's off the hook." Now, if you didn't understand the language of hip-hop, you would have thought I insulted your wife. In reality, I just gave her a great compliment, but I used the language of hip-hop. So remember, meanings are in people, not in words. And so what that means is every person you use the same word to can interpret that word based on who they are and what their experiences are. So it's up to us in the media, Zeb, to make sure we clearly define what our terminology is and force our opponents to do the same thing.
Oh, man, I just wished you were here in this studio and we could do this thing live, and then, of course, we could go out and have a big steak and flip for the bill. And I tell you what, you're welcome anytime. Raynard Jackson.
I'm coming out there. We're going to do that.
Well, and I'm going to hold you to it. I'll tell you what. Founder and chairman of Black Americans for a Better Future, my friend, and I mean that. Raynard Jackson, God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, take care. Straight shooter, and I really appreciate his very candid remarks. We need more people in the media, more people on the air, like Raynard Jackson. I have a lot of respect for the man. We better do a weather forecast. And the weather this hour brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I think Leiden, what day is Leiden supposed to be on? Tomorrow, I think, isn't he? 9:30 tomorrow. Well, we'll find out more. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. My goodness, the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, payroll services, retirement planning. Oh, the list goes on and on. Regardless of what industry you're involved in, agriculture, manufacturing, food production, construction, whatever, they can and they will help you, your family, and your business. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Remember the name, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Oh boy, today is definitely going to be a hot one. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. And the estimated high is going to be right around 96, possible triple digits, just depending upon where you're at in the valley. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, cooling off to 62. Partly sunny for tomorrow with a high of 90. Mostly cloudy skies for Wednesday night with a low of 60. Those clouds are going to stick around for Thursday. And we will have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. We're going to be cooling off to about mid-80s for Thursday. Thursday night, slight chance of thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies in the overnight hours with a low of 54. Then for Friday, sunny skies and highs going to be close to 90. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zephyr.
No, thank you very much, very much. We appreciate it, Gina. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company sponsoring our weather forecast for this hour. And they are the best at what they do. That's not bragging. That's a fact. Very professional people serving you with all your accounting services at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company in Burley and Rupert. Wow, I've got time for a call or two. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I got to tell you, this is what bugs me so bad. And there's words I want to use, but I can't. I have to restrain myself because of the racial problem in America. It's not a problem if you'll sit down and talk to each other. Talk to each other. But you've got a bunch of race haters and race baiters in this country. On one side, you've got the Al Sharptons. On the other, you have many of the Democrats that are just in there digging. And we can all sit down and try to come up with common ground and work together and eliminate a lot of the problems in our society and diffuse a lot of the problems. You heard what he said, Raynard Jackson, just a few minutes ago. These are solvable problems. But there's too many people involved that are just twisting things for their own benefit. And they make me sick. Let's not forget our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. I tell you what, they've got all the side-by-sides, all the four-wheelers. They've got everything for you to get up in the hills and enjoy. Want to get on the water? Ho, they've got the watercraft. I mean, they've got it all over there for you to hit the rivers and the streams and the lakes, and I'll tell you what, you better get over there right now today. Still a lot of summer left. Enjoy it. Stop over to Let's Ride. They've got a great accessory department, and they've got a super service department to keep you running. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. This is where absolutely the fun is sold at Let's Ride. All right, I'm surprised you didn't call me. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, did you see some of these absolutely crazy, kooky protesters that were out in front of Mitch McConnell's home last night, staying all the way through the night, chanting and yelling and swearing and cursing and saying filthy things as to what they would do to him? One was heard in the background, if I had a knife, I'd stab you through the heart. These people are absolutely insane villains of a cause in this country that wants to disrupt and tear apart. And blaming Mitch McConnell, blaming a party of the Republicans, blaming Donald Trump for the shootings. You just got to question where these people are mentally and how they got there. But to stand there in front of their home, McConnell's home, and just act like idiots, which they did a really good job, and say the things they said, it's just unbelievable. Don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. And they really are dedicated and responsive to your needs. The thing you've got to do is just kind of take the bull by the horns and call the number. Make an appointment and make sure that you, your family, and your business are covered. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. That number, 436-4424. I'll repeat it again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Really, really, really nice people. By the way, there is going to be tomorrow night, and I want to emphasize this, put this on your calendar of must be there. Tomorrow night, there is going to be the third episode showing of Lavoy Dead Man Talking, Lavoy Finicum, presented by the Crane family and Jeanette Finicum in conjunction with the Center for Self-Governance. Now, pay attention to what I'm going to say here. It's going to be tomorrow evening, August 7th at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to be at the King Fine Arts Center, small theater at Burley High School, and I absolutely urge you to be there. It's not going to cost you anything. Admission is free, and donations will be accepted. This is a wonderful, wonderful episode in the continuance of the story of Lavoy Finicum, and I urge you to be in attendance. Tomorrow night at the King Fine Arts Center, small theater at Burley High School, and it's going to start at 6 p.m. Don't you miss it. Okay. Now, what have we got cooking next hour? Oh, boy, one of my also favorite guests, and that's E. Calvin Beisner with the Cornwall Alliance. We're going to be talking about climate change, global warming, and all the religious kooks that subscribe to that church, if you will. And that'll be coming up at 10:30. Dr. History will be up next, however, at 10:06. Now, Dr. History is down in Utah visiting family, and he has consented, and we really appreciate it, to coming on the program via the phone. So stay tuned. That's coming up in a few minutes. Wheels, take it away, old boy. Oh, bye. Here we go. Hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, August 6th. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best in tires for your safe driving. Stop in and see them today. Also, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And last but not least, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. We're going to go to Dr. History in just a moment, but right now I also want to remind you about our friends at Dino's Septic Service. Oh, you've heard me say this so many times. They do a job that you and I don't want to do. I'm telling you, all the septic tank pumping and the liquid waste removal and the sewer and sink drain line cleaning and all the backhoe services and the water and sewer lines installed, all of this and so much more. Please call them today at 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. They're there to serve you. Dino's Septic Service with the big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. One other quick note is I'm very, very happy and fortunate to have these folks on my radio program, and that's the good people over at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Hello, Curtis and Lorena. Excellent people. They've got just about everything. They are your electronic needs headquarters. Let me tell you, all the home theater systems, kick up your feet, enjoy right in your home. All the video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems. They've even got steel hitches, 3 to a 9-inch drop, and all the closeout on power cords, and the monster cables are 50% off. Woo! They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Don't forget to stop in and see them today. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Well, ladies and gentlemen, long distance. I believe he's down in Utah right now. And we want to wish him and his family the very, very best. Here we go with the world-famous Dr. History. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
I am great, but first and foremost, I hope all is going better for your daughter.
Oh, yeah, doing good. This new baby is, almost 3 weeks old and growing and eating and doing all the stuff that a little baby does.
And I really hope that little baby doesn't look like you.
We can all hope that, right?
Dr. History, I want you to know that you and your family are very, very special to us, and you're down there visiting your daughter, and you could have said, Zeb, I can't be on the program, but it meant a lot to me that you would still fill this time with an interesting segment, and all that being said, we really appreciate you, but what are we going to talk about this morning?
I'm going to talk about a guy that is well known throughout the history of the Old West, a guy by the name of Samuel Colt.
Oh, yes.
Samuel Colt. Now, there was a common saying in Texas back then, and here's what it said, quote, God made some men big and some men small, but Colonel Sam Colt made them equal all. So when you talk about the gun being the equalizer, it certainly was. But Colt's inventions, really the first practical revolving firearms, were really connected a lot with Texas. I mean, when you think of Texas and the Colt, yeah, they were pretty closely related. And, of course, the rugged individuals who settled the Wild West, all those, Colt was their gun. But even as a new breed of men came out of age and readied themselves to conquer the frontiers, so did Colt's vision come to pass to provide them with the very best tool he could do or come up with. And the revolver was so important to the winning of the West that it has remained a symbol of power and individuality more than a century later. And when you think of the Old West, you got to think of a pistol, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it all started with the quick mind and the clever hands of a young boy back in the East. He was born in July of 1814 in Hartford, Connecticut. So Samuel Colt was the fourth of 5 children born to Sarah and Christopher Colt. Well, his mom died in 1821, and the children were sent to live with various relatives and farmers in the area. Samuel went to a farm of somebody in Glastonbury, Connecticut. Not really a servant, but, they took care of the kids, basically. But anyway, America's active participation in the Industrial Revolution kind of sparked young Sam's interest in machinery. And so he began to kind of tinker. And legend has it that in his early years, he took apart his father's old horse pistol and put it all back together perfectly. And for 3 years, he worked in a silk mill, and he was watching the newly designed machines do what had been done by a housewife. So he paid particular attention to the division of labor as each person performed a specific task. He also began experimenting with gunpowder with the factory's chemical specialist. And so in 1828 or 29, he enrolled at a place called the Amherst Academy, but he soon got into trouble for shooting off his horse pistol. So I guess you could say he was a little bit of a rebel in school. But anyway, Colt's first experiment that we take note of as an inventor came about on the 4th of July in 1829. He passed out a handbill advertising that he'd, quote, blow a raft sky high on Ware Pond. That's what it said. So his idea was to illustrate the effectiveness of submarine explosives. He used hard cloth to wrap the wire carrying the electric charge to the explosives. Well, the raft didn't blow quite sky high, but the explosion sent a geyser of mud and water into the air, covering nearly all of the spectators who'd gathered to see this great experiment. And a young engineer named Elisha Root saved Colt from the angry mob. So if you can picture this, they're all standing around this little pond, and it blows up, and they all get covered with mud and dirt and water. So they weren't real happy with Samuel Colt at that point. But on August 2nd, 1830, young Sam set sail on a ship as a crew member. And his intention was to become a navigator and a ship's officer. Now, during the voyage, Colt whittled away at a wooden model of a pistol with a revolving 6-cylindered chamber. And legend has it that he was inspired by watching the captain steering the ship with the big wheel. But the revolving cylinder had actually been used before in England in 1813, so he really wasn't the first. But, what made Colt's model unique was that he transposed the ship's pawl and ratchet. And I'm still not exactly sure what that is, but he looked at that and he transposed that to his revolving pistol, and each serving the same purpose on a miniature scale. And what happens is that the pawl rotates the cylinder while the hammer was being cocked, and the ratchet held the cylinder in place when the weapon was fired. So anyway, that's where he kind of got an idea about this revolving cylinder. But anyway, on returning, Colt had a full-scale model of both a pistol and a rifle that he'd whittled and made. And with his newly designed weapons and a letter of introduction from his dad, he approached the U.S. Commissioner of Patents in Washington, but the commissioner thought the guns were too crude, and he recommended they be locked up secretly in the patent office until their design was perfected a little better. So he didn't really trust this gun. So anyway, Colt spent the next 2 years going through a succession of 3 different gunsmiths as he attempted to improve his design. And to pay for his gunsmithing fees, he toured the eastern seaboard with a, quote, laughing gas show he put together. And I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, but evidently they had some laughing gas. They would, I don't know, people would smell it or whatever and cause them to laugh. I don't know. But the show was popular with the public and actually quite profitable for Colt. But anyway, finally in the summer of 1835, Colt applied for a patent on his much-improved pistol design, and confident that he would receive the American patent, he then set sail for England and France, and where he applied for and received patents over there before he got any over here in America.
I didn't know that.
Now, on February 25th, 1836, Colt received the American patent on his revolver, and shortly afterward, he opened the Patent Arms Manufacturing Company at Paterson, New Jersey.
Now, let me interrupt and ask a question, Dr. History. Let me ask you a question right there. Up to that point, everything in firearms was deemed basically a ball and powder and single-shot type weapon, right?
Right, yes. Yeah, so there really hadn't been anything repeating type rifles or pistols up until then.
Right.
As far as I know.
Okay.
So, but Colt's first model actually was a 5-shot, 34 caliber revolver with a trigger that disappeared when not in use. He appropriately named this the Patterson, and it really didn't sell very well. And the U.S. Army Ordnance Department turned it down. They thought it was too fragile for military use. But in 1837, Colt received an order for 100 of his repeating rifles to be used by the Army in Florida when they were fighting the Seminole War. But by this time, samples of Colt's work had filtered into Texas, which had just won its independence from Mexico, and the Patterson soon became the favorite weapon of the Texas Rangers and the Texas Navy. Well, controversy still exists over whether Captain Samuel H. Walker of the Texas Rangers actually did visit Colt in New York as early as 1839 to suggest improvements on the Patterson. But Colt fired a patent on August 29, 1839, for a loading lever for the newly modified Patterson. And he issued the weapon in 1840 officially, and he called the Model 5, but known on the frontier as either the Texas Patterson or the Walker Patterson. So that was kind of the initial first names of some of the first pistols that he put out there. Now, while the frontiersman was happy with his new weapon, manufacturers and industrialists in the East were more interested in how it was being produced. Well, Colt's Patterson factory was the first to mass-produce interchangeable parts. Now, remember, Zeb, a lot of the older rifles, you know, if you had one, it didn't necessarily interchange with another one.
Right.
So
right.
if you had something that broke down or whatever, you may not be able to get another part for it. So anyway, they were pretty amazed with the assembly line procedure, with trained personnel that made final inspection of the product. And so manufacturers and inventors were pretty excited by Colt's accomplishments. And, of course, this was way before the Model T Ford, assembly line. But his system could be used to manufacture other products as well. So Colt's line of firearms seemed kind of doomed to failure because sales dwindled, and actually he went into bankruptcy in 1842. But that all is going to change, as you'll hear in a bit. For the next 4 years, Colt experimented on a number of inventions which never really quite reached the success of his pistols. Among these were a waterproof tinfoil cartridge. He actually invented an underwater mine system for harbor defense and underwater batteries. But it was at this time that Colt became acquainted with Samuel Morse, the Morse code guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Colt's underwater battery system was actually invaluable in Morse's development of the telegraph cable. But it took the Mexican War and the Texas Rangers to put Colt back in the field he loved so dearly, which was manufacturing firearms. But anyway, Colt pistols used by the Texas Rangers attached to General Zachary Taylor's unit was so effective that Captain Jack Hayes got the general to order more of them. And they sent Captain Samuel Walker to Colt with the order. So he redesigned the revolver with some suggestions from Walker. The result was a huge, now get this up, a 5-pound, 15-inch, 44 caliber weapon. Now that's a pretty heavy gun. But according to Texas Rangers who used it, it was a good gun. It was capable of killing an enemy at over a quarter of a mile distance.
Could you imagine? Can you imagine 5-pound gun and the recoil on that gun, and then also packing that on your hip all day long?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty heavy gun, really. But it was called the Walker Colt in honor of the Ranger who helped make it. And that's the very first time it started to be called a six-shooter.
Mm-hmm.
That was the beginning of that term. But it was also the gun that started Colt on a long line of government contracts for his firearms, which continued on even past his death. And since Colt had no factory of his at this time, he persuaded Eli Whitney, Jr., who manufactured the cotton gin, to produce the weapons at his plant in Whitneyville, Connecticut. So each pistol was stamped with the mark Samuel Colt, New York. Well, Colt lost money on the deal, but the 1,000 Walker Colts he sent to the Rangers kind of made his reputation with them. The Rangers conquered the West, and when Captain Walker was killed, he had in his hand the Walker Colt in his hand. But anyway, in the meantime, Colt began construction of his own factory in Hartford, Connecticut, and in one of the most important moves of his career, he hired this partner, Elisha Root, as head superintendent to design and construct the new armory. And Colt just continued selling. He didn't want to be that much involved in the production, but he really enjoyed selling his guns. Now, while the Walker Colt proved an effective weapon, it was too bulky to carry, as I mentioned, 5 pounds. But Colt received requests for a lighter belt model, and by trimming it down, the frame, in early 1848, Colt produced what he called the improved holster model. Now, this was still a 44 caliber, and it became known as the Dragoon Colt, with only some minor changes in design, and it remained the standard sidearm of the U.S. Army until the Civil War. And he actually sold over 200,000 guns over a 20-year period.
Wow.
But the only other popular revolver Colt produced before the Civil War was what they called the Navy model. It's a 36 caliber. And they used that, the sailors and one thing and another. But the decade from 1846 56 made Samuel Colt a millionaire and really an industrialist in America. His employees were the best-paid factory workers in the country, and his weapons had gained a reputation for being accurate, reliable, sturdy, well-crafted. But Colt's patent ran out in 1857, and by 1858, with the introduction of the metal cartridge, and actually the metal cartridge was kind of thought to be a fad at the time, which, of course, we realize now is the best thing that ever happened. But he started facing some competition at that time with Smith & Wesson, Sharps, and Henry, who also at that time were coming into the firearms field. But anyway, by 1860, the war between the North and the South was unavoidable, and so Colt and his partner Root began designing a new Colt pistol. And although each new revolver was greeted with enthusiasm, all Colt really did was kind of just make it a little smaller and less cumbersome. And in the case of the 1860 Army revolver, Colt saw the need for a cavalry weapon. And so he actually introduced a smaller Army model in 1860 and manufactured over 200,000 of those. Now, Colt, he was a kind of a patriotic guy, but he was a businessman first, and he filled orders for both sides of the Civil War, but he wasn't he kind of opposed Lincoln's election, but he did supply the Union with guns, pistols, and muskets during the Civil War. But his public life was really successful, but his private life was a little bit different. He met a gal by the name of Caroline Henshaw in 1835 when he was in England, and he married her, but by 1841, she mysteriously kind of faded from Colt's life and became, get this, the girlfriend of his brother John.
Oh, my goodness.
But then he decided to move on. He married a gal by the name of Elizabeth Jarvis in 1856, and apparently she was much better suited to Colt than his first wife, and it was she who inherited the bulk of his estate when he died. So Elizabeth may have been the only good thing to happen in Colt's private life, but, problems mounted over the years. As manager of a Colt plant, his brother was kind of lazy and incompetent, and then there was a suicide as well as a murder in the family, and there was a little question about an illegitimate son. So their private life was, like I say, a little questionable, but the best key to his character comes from what his brother said. He said that Colt said, "If I can't be first, I won't be second in anything." But Colt had been a workaholic all of his life, constantly greeting dignitaries from all over the world, and a lot of times he would actually make a custom-made pistol for these dignitaries that would be coming around. So there's actually out there some very original, one-of-a-kind pistols that were made by Colt. So anyway, he kind of turned things over to his partner by the name of Root, and he started getting sick, and by January of 1862, he kind of went down for the last time, and so he died at the young age of 47. But his funeral was one of the most celebrated in the nation's history. His estate was valued at $15 million.
Wow.
Now, $15 million back then, that was a pretty hefty sum.
Mm-hmm.
But he left his wife and family well provided for. He didn't leave the invention of the six-gun that would become synonymous with his name, the Colt 45 Peacemaker. So that actually came after he died, and it went out for sale in 1873, and he died in 1861. But, he was a proud, stubborn, far-sighted man. Samuel Colt was one of the most important inventors and manufacturers that come on the scene of the 19th century in America. His accomplishments in the field of mass production set the country on a course that would make it an industrial giant in the world by the end of the 19th century. But it was Colt's development of the modern-day revolver that made him a legend in the American West.
Let me ask you one quick question. I've only got a minute left, and I want to ask you this. Is there any truth from your research that when you cock a Colt pistol, it goes click, 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 click? There are 4 clicks. Does that represent, as I heard in the story that I've heard, that the 4 clicks represent the number of letters in Colt's last name?
I have not heard that. I don't know that. That's an interesting question, but Yeah, I don't know.
That's something for you to research and maybe have for next week, because I've heard that story from others that when you cock a Colt pistol, it goes, and I've got one, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks, and they say those clicks are all synonymous with the 4 letters representing Colt's last name.
That could very well be. Might be just a coincidence, or I'll see what I can find out about that.
All right. Well, listen, I am out of time. I, again, want to extend the very best to you and your family. God's blessings. And we will see you next week. Thank you, Dr. History.
All right. You have a good day. We'll see you.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Real quick, before we go any further, I want to remind everybody about our Cassia County Fair and Rodeo coming up here starting this next weekend. And many of the merchants that want you to become involved and go to the fair include Butte Irrigation at 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul, and also another location on Kimberly Road at Red Cap Corner north of Kimberly. Don't forget Butte Irrigation. Oh, my, they'll get you wet for all your irrigation needs, parts, and service. Remember Butte Irrigation. And Mountain Transmissions, 1146 East Main in Burley with Rick and the crew. Hey, you've got trouble with your transmission? Don't forget they provide free towing, free diagnostic, free estimates. Your one-stop transmission repair facility, Mountain Transmission. And last but not least, we are blessed to have the great crew of the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce in our area, and they invite everybody to grow with us. Be a part of the booming economy, and let the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce provide you with more visibility, more credibility, and more resources to help your business succeed. The Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Right now, we are going to get all set to go over to Wheels. We'll be right back.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, and real fast, we don't want to keep our guests waiting any longer. I want to mention to you, homemade meals and housekeeping are provided for the folks at Greystone Crossing, independent senior living in Heyburn. And I'll tell you what, if you need to go to an appointment, a doctor's appointment, hair appointment, whatever, they will take you there. All part of the rent every month, and they want you to be very happy with the rest of your friends at a great living location. And that's Greystone Crossing, independent senior living on Alfresco Road. That's 21st Street, just 1 mile east of Walmart in Heyburn. 3 meals a day, plus snacks, housekeeping, like I said, local transportation. Call to see the facilities. Absolutely beautiful at 650-4979. Greystone Crossing, independent senior living. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the phone line, and I apologize to the guest for being a little late getting him on the program this morning, and I say good morning to E. Calvin Beisner with the Cornwall Alliance. Thank you very, very much.
Well, great. Great to be back with you, Zeb. Always enjoy doing the program, and fun to be able to reach out to the people there in Idaho.
Let me ask you this, Calvin, and I'm in kind of a negative mood this morning because I look at what's going on in politics. I look at what's going on through politics to the environmentalists, etc. Are we losing a grip on reality with these environmentalists pushing climate change, and we've all basically got to change our lifestyle and live in a cave? How bad are things right now?
Zeb, I wasn't able to hear anything that you just said.
Oh, well, Wheels, you got to ride that gain a little bit. Can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you just fine now.
Oh, okay, good. Evidently there was something not pushed right. But I asked the question, I said, with all the negativity going on in politics, with the liberal Democrats and the condemnation of our energy sources, whether it's coal, whether it's oil, whatever the case might be, are we losing any sense of sensibility with the environmentalists? Have we lost the war?
Oh, I don't think by any means we've lost the war. I think what we're seeing is that the people who have pretty wild, radical ideas about this tend to get the news coverage, but the people who are actually doing the job of getting energy to folks, they don't get the news coverage. They just do the job. the fact is that fossil fuels continue to provide over 80% of all energy used in the United States right now. That coal continues to provide 30-some% of all electricity used. Natural gas provides about another 40%, 45% possibly by now. Nuclear around 20%, hydro about 10%, and then a variety of other sources, the remainder. So the fact is that the people who are really doing the job, they just keep on doing it, and they get the electricity, the transportation fuels that we need to us. Rather a thankless job. The radicals with their crazy ideas get the media attention, and I guess that's understandable. It's the old man bites dog principle for journalists, you know. You pay attention to the weird things. But no, I don't think we're losing the battle. I think we're going to win the battle because increasingly the scientific evidence shows that while our burning fossil fuels does probably warm the earth a little bit, it's a little bit, not a catastrophic amount.
You know, Calvin, I'm so glad you're on the program because I am absolutely furious with some of the remarks made by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Cory Booker, Wild-Haired Bernie, and the rest of these people say, oh, we're all going to burn up in 10 years. Why, we've got to get rid of all the cars. We've got to stop all this. They are absolutely scaring. All the way down to kindergartners. The fact that they are trying to preach their religion of environmentalism and anti-fuels, how in the world can we exist as a nation if we followed these creatures over a cliff?
Yeah, well, it's pretty crazy stuff, and it's not just going on here. I have a granddaughter who lives in England. She's 6 years old, and she came home one day about a month ago and said, Mommy, we have to stop using gas. And her mommy said, why? My teachers told me that if we keep using gas, the world is going to get hotter and hotter, and then there won't be any water left. And, of course, we had to try to help this little 6-year-old to understand the problems. We did ask her, well, if everybody stops using gas, how are your teachers going to get to school? They drive cars right now. And that kind of got her thinking a little bit. But yeah, these kinds of things go around, and the fact is that even if we wanted to, even if everybody wanted to, we would not be able to replace the incredibly vast energy infrastructure that's built basically around fossil fuels and a little bit of nuclear and hydro all over the world in anything less than probably a century and a half to 2 centuries. And to say that we have to do it in the next 10 years or even the next 50 years is simply atrocious.
You know, Cal,
GDP's energy future forecasts tell us that fossil fuels will still be providing probably over 80% of the world's energy, even up to the end of this century.
Calvin, right here in the state of Idaho, Idaho Power has come out and said that they are going to go 100% clean, green energy in about 20 years. I personally called them and asked them to have a representative come on my program and answer questions as to how and why and how much is it going to cost the ratepayers, etc. And Idaho Power ran and hid under their desk and would not come on my program and answer the questions about their transition to green energy and the cancellation of coal-fired plants in Wyoming and also Winnemucca, Nevada. This is offensive to me that people in power of energy companies like Idaho Power, can be so arrogant and not answer questions to the public.
Well, I think probably what you're seeing there, I've not studied that particular situation, but this is fairly common. Probably what you're seeing is that when they're saying that they're going to go to 100% clean, green energy, they're actually going to wind up buying some energy from other states, buying electricity from other states that is generated using coal or natural gas to replace the coal and natural gas generated energy that they're going to stop generating in Idaho. California's been doing that, exactly that kind of thing, for close to a decade, so that it can claim higher percentages of actual green, so-called clean energy than it actually is producing. This is greenwashing. This is sounding good to the public, part of public relations. It's not honest accounting for where the electricity really comes from. It's still mostly going to be coming from fossil fuels. Wind and solar, the two primary sources of the so-called clean, green energy, simply cannot produce that much energy reliably 24/7, 365, because wind and solar are highly intermittent. And you can't even predict when the wind is going to stop blowing. You can't predict when the clouds are going to blow over and block the sunlight so the solar doesn't work. And that means you have to have backup generating plants running at spinning reserve, which is very inefficient, plants using either coal or natural gas to provide the energy when the wind and solar don't. That raises the costs. And it's just simply not going to work. But meanwhile, it's good PR for those who think that sounding green helps them.
Yeah, and your point is so well taken. It sounds good. It sounds like a candy bar given out to everybody, when in essence, many of my questions are going to be, okay, but how does this affect the ratepayers, of which I am one? Exactly. And how much more is it going to cost for transitional costs? How much is it going to be to switch over? How safe and secure will our energy grids be? And for a company like Idaho Power to run and hide under their desk and ignore me and my pleas for them to come on the program, I find that offensive and extremely non-professional.
Yeah, well, what you need is to get more and more of your listeners going to them with exactly the same questions and saying, hey, we're ratepayers. We want to know what's going on here. And frankly, probably a lot of those listeners need to become stockholders in the company and start going to company meetings, stockholders meetings, and starting to hold the executives accountable.
Absolutely. Calvin, when you look back prior to Al Gore, and then, of course, King Gore getting involved in environmentalism and climate change at that time, global warming, and all the threats, we're all going to be drowning in water in just a matter of a few years. Really, tell me, how many of their predictions of mass hysteria and absolute chaos have come true?
Zero. They predicted, for instance, that there would be 250 million climate refugees by, I think the year they pointed to was 2018. This was back around 2010, 2012. And there have been no climate refugees at all, let alone 250 million some. They've predicted that a bunch of Pacific islands would go underwater and no longer be habitable. The actual fact is that most of those islands are actually expanding in size because the coral grows faster than the sea level is rising. The sea level rise has not actually accelerated over the long term. It's continuing at about the average rate per century of 6 or 7 inches per century, about 1.5 to 2 millimeters per year. So the predictions keep falling flat. But the reason they do these and say, we have to act now, is precisely to keep people from asking the important questions about, okay, how solid is the scientific evidence for this? How solid is your estimate of the cost of doing what you want to do to correct this problem? Will the benefits of doing that actually outweigh the cost? They don't want people to think carefully and slowly about this, so they rush people to judgment. That's not the way to get good decisions. The Apostle Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians 5:21, test all things, hold fast what is good. We need to do that with what these folks are saying.
Yeah, from the Bible all the way to Ronald Reagan, if you'll remember, in a paraphrase, he said, trust but verify.
Yes, indeed.
You know, let me ask you this question, and you and I have been on the program many times, and I've got about 4 minutes left here. But you mentioned your granddaughter just a little bit ago, and this is what really bothers me and scares me. It doesn't make any difference if it's over in England. It doesn't make any difference if it's in New York, Chicago, Dallas, Texas, or right here in southern Idaho. These kids today are being duped into thinking that anything with energy, whether it's oil, fossil fuels in general, or whatever, bad, and the people are bad. How are we going to change that?
Well, really, we have to restore a Christian understanding of the whole world, really, a Christian worldview that recognizes this world as the product of a wise and omnipotent designer and creator and sustainer who made it to be, as he said it at the end of Genesis 1, very good. And that suggests that it's not this extremely fragile place that can be, just blasted into catastrophe by a tiny little change like increasing CO2 in the atmosphere from 28 thousandths of 1% to 56 thousandths of 1%. So we need to restore a Christian worldview. That's the work that the Cornwall Alliance is dedicated to doing with regard to these issues. So if your listeners come to cornwallalliance.org, they can subscribe to our email newsletter, learn a whole lot from every issue of that. They can read hundreds of articles that are on our website, some major papers by a variety of really outstanding Christian scholars, scientists, economists, theologians, philosophers. They can keep up on this, and then they will be equipped to be able to help their children and their grandchildren not to become pawns of the fear-mongering entertainment leaders, mainstream media leaders, political leaders, and unfortunately much of the education establishment as well.
You know, Calvin, I made a comment here a week ago on my program, and it's my own personal observation, not stealing this from anyone else. But in our own state of Idaho, and I've only got 2 minutes left, our own state of Idaho, they are clamoring and asking and begging for finances to help the infrastructure, the rebuilding and reparations of our bridges and roads, etc. But if the Democrats get power like they're searching for in 2020, and powers that be like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez want to eliminate all private travel in cars, why in the world should we spend the money on infrastructure?
Yeah, well, there's an awful lot of conflicting agendas going on, aren't there? But the fun thing is that we can watch these people run around, making their all claims of catastrophe around the corner. And the fact is that as Christians, we know that God is in control of these things. And that doesn't mean that we're ignoring the world around us. It means we're seeing how it really works.
Absolutely.
And, we've not seen these catastrophes predicted, as predicted, and there's no reason to think that we will. CornwallAlliance.org is the place for your listeners to get some really solid info on this.
Absolutely. I can't, caller, I'm so sorry I don't have time to take your call right now. I'm out of time. But, Calvin, thank you, and I mean this sincerely, for taking the time to come on my program. You are a breath of fresh air, and I thank you so much for what you do, and I'll call you and have you back soon.
Great, Zeb. Thanks very much, and God bless.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. To the caller that's waiting on the line, I'm sorry, I'm flat out of time. I've got to get a weather forecast on here really fast, and it's brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the telephone number to call, 324-7657. All the delicious meats. Go to their website. Check it out, scarrowsmeats.com. And don't forget, if you got a family gathering or a company picnic or whatever, all the pork ribs, the marinated pork ribs, or the tri-tips, or all the different bratwurst. Oh, they're delicious. Don't forget Scarrows Meats in Jerome, 324-7657. I'll tell you more right after Gina has the weather.
Oh boy, today is definitely going to be a hot one. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. And the estimated high is going to be right around 96, possible triple digits, just depending upon where you're at in the valley. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, cooling off to 62. Partly sunny for tomorrow with a high of 90. Mostly cloudy skies for Wednesday night with a low of 60. Those clouds are going to stick around for Thursday. And we will have a slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. We're going to be cooling off to about mid-80s for Thursday. Thursday night, slight chance of thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies in the overnight hours with a low of 54. Then for Friday, sunny skies and highs going to be close to 90. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
Wow, it is a little warm, but it's going to be ending in a couple of days. I want to remind you, too, our thanks go out to Don Scarrow and the rest of the folks at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. That number again, 324-7657. They at Scarrow's Meats are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Absolutely. Wow, what do we got cooking on the program tomorrow? Let's take a quick look. I had a change on my 10:30 guest, and we're going to have to re-establish another party for that time slot. I know that Dave Beagle is going to be on from Indianapolis, Indiana, and then we've got Lyden Crane, and he's going to share some really valuable tax tips for you, your family, and your business. And then we've got the old fishing hole brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse. Those are just a few of the items that we're going to have on the program tomorrow on Wednesday's Zeb at the Ranch. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, and that, of course, being your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Woo! They are so good. They are so friendly and so helpful. Let me tell you, they've got all the safe driving tires for you, your pickups, SUVs, your cars, your horse trailers, boat trailers, everything. You need tires. Stop in and see them today. They've got all the sizes, all the tread designs for your type of driving. And while you're there, don't forget, too, they've got the best in brake service with highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. It's all there. It's all there at any one of the 7 locations serving you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I'm going to get out of here for today, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate your calls and your input on this program. God bless my audience. They are wonderful, wonderful people. Thank you very, very much. And we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, where we always say, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. But we are also including this because we believe in this. In God we trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. You have a great day.